I'm the Director of Field Operations for the STAT MEDEVAC program. Today, on September 11th, on that day, I was a flight paramedic and the compliance specialist for the program.
Today I'm the clinical manager for STAT MEDEVAC. 10 years ago I was a flight paramedic assigned to MEDEVAC 7.
Tom Rolison, and I am the regional field support manager.
Mike Steele, and I'm a pilot out of STAT MEDEVAC 11 out of Altoona.
Tony Zroya, I'm a transport coordinator, and on September 11th I was working Medic Command.
Well, that morning was a little odd.
We noticed our bayside mechanic was coming up the street in his car, but at a really higher than normal rate of speed, and took the turn into the parking lot to our base just as though something was really wrong.
It was a normal morning. It was beautiful, I remember. It was a nice sunny day outside.
We were sitting in here, we just got done briefing for the day, and a report came across the TV that an airplane had crashed.
We had a TV in one of the crew rooms, everybody was gathered around, and I mean, it was chaos, total chaos.
It's how does that kind of happen on a clear blue September morning? Does a plane kind of steer off course? None of us kind of really thought that it would even be terrorism.
We were out going through an aircraft, and somebody came out and said, did you see the TV? There's a small airplane that flew into the World Trade Center.
I mean, people didn't know what was going on and who was next and if you were safe.
So we stopped what we were doing and walked into, we had a helicopter base here at the time, and looked at the TV and saw the image of a burning World Trade Center. One tower was on fire.
And just the look in his face, I said, "John, what's going on?" He says, "Dude, we're under attack."
At that point, we knew that something had just changed, and it was pretty bad.
If a room could get any quieter than silent.
It was anger, you know, at first. You know, I think every American thought that. You were really angry, and you wanted something done. You wanted to do something, even though you didn't know who or what.
You know, made a few phone calls. Told my wife, you know, you need, because we don't know what's going on. You need to plan on going to get some groceries.
I think everybody developed a kind of a sense of purpose, and there wasn't any panic. We all took maybe personal phone calls. I know I took a phone call from my wife, worried about our kids that were young at school at the time, and so we had to deal with some of our personal issues as well as being ready to respond to the emergency.
And it wasn't too long after that we had actually gotten called that we had a patient request.
Shortly after, about the time I think one of the towers fell, we had received word that there was an airplane that they couldn't communicate that was actually flying over Pittsburgh.
We didn't really fully understand at that point that the plane that ended up crashing in Shanksville literally flew within miles of our base.
So they said it was on a 747, a big airplane had crashed in Fayette County. That was the initial input that came in.
In the meantime, our chief pilot had been talking with Cleveland Center Air Traffic Control to get permission for us to actually respond by air.
We grabbed the crew and we we found out that it was in Somerset County, and we headed out there, and we actually responded with almost 9 aircraft heading for that accident scene at that time.
Our pilot pulled us off to the side and said, you know, we're going to take this mission, but you know, if you see anything, and I do mean it, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if something doesn't look right, smell right, seem right, you let me know about it right now, because we really didn't at that point have any idea how many more were out there, what else was going on.
You start hearing other erroneous reports about car bombs at different places, and then news started flooding in of different things, and at that point it was really we didn't know what was going on.
You had to really watch. They were trying to land all the aircraft and get all the aircraft on the ground, and you didn't know what was going on. Planes were circling, and you were thinking, okay, are they going to crash this thing into the hangar?
The changing point of the room was we received a call from Somerset 911 about a commercial airliner going down, and then pretty much we were involved with what was going on a national level.
And we were the first ones there, aviation-wise.
When you were in defensive mode, you were definitely going towards the skies, making sure nothing was coming your way.
And when we got there, all you could see was a little V cut in the ground. There was really no debris, a little bit of smoke, and then all the ambulance and fire trucks and everything was there. And
everybody but military or police were the only ones allowed to fly. So at the time we were kind of in a scramble to aircraft were landing at different locations.
I remember seeing a lot of was the evacuation cards that they put in the back of the seats. and they were scattered out through the cornfield.
After we found out that there were no survivors and everybody was aborted, it was then that the FAA had shut down the airspace for everybody.
A little nerve-wracking at first because, you know, we knew the airspace was shut down. There was absolutely no aircraft flying other than military at the time.
In the 16 years that I've been here, still stands out in my mind as the eeriest flight I've ever been on.
And as we're coming in, I mean, pit approach was usually always booming with activity, and to be absolutely dead silent and you're the only one talking on the radio.
We were it. I mean, we were the only civilian aircraft in the air at that time.
There was an emergency and we wanted to make a difference. I think everybody that was here that day wanted to make a difference. We wanted to be able to step in and stop whatever pain and suffering people were actually experiencing. And the frustrating thing was that unfortunately that day we weren't able to do that.
I think it changed me and everybody else in the country.
You know, the world has changed drastically today from what it was then.
You're changed forever. I mean, you really are never quite the same again.
We have a generation of kids that are, you know, are 10 years old that don't have any memory of that. They're 12 years old that have no memory of that day.
Myself, I think they should play that scene every day of what happened to the towers.
What has changed today is that every time I put a flight suit on and I still fly as a flight paramedic, I understand that on that shift I may be called upon to respond to the exact same incident or something worse that some terrorist has dreamed up.
Definitely say what I took for granted, I don't anymore. You know, you got to be ready to expect the unexpected, and anything could change at any moment. You know, and we have we're not in charge of it anyway. 10
years ago, it wasn't, you really couldn't get your head wrapped around somebody intentionally flying jumbo jets into the World Trade Center and bringing them down.
Americans, we're strong, we move forward.
As long as we remain vigilant and as a country as a whole, do what we can to prevent anything like that from ever happening again.
We owe it to those emergency services providers who went to work that morning and never went home, to never forget them.